What is happening, people? I do hope you're keeping well, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Harry Scarf from Scarfy Spurs Talk, and today we're going to be talking about who has been Spurs' player of the season so far. Very keen to get your thoughts, but before we crack into it, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it ultimately helps the channel grow. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Amazon Music, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. And also, pause, head over to YouTube, search Scarfy Spurs Talk, and don't forget to subscribe because we are trying to get to 2K by the end of 2024. So that'll be massively appreciated. But yeah, let's crack straight into it. Obviously, as always, get involved. Um, who has been Spurs' player of the season? For me, there's endless contenders. If we're looking at overall improvement, like major improvement from last season, the likes of Porro come to mind for me as a really big one. Romero, in terms of, I think he's always had that ability, that quality, but kind of that discipline side to his game. You could say up until he went away from AFCON, you could say Basuma for me as well. You could say Son. There are so many contenders. But in terms of looking at players that have come in new to the team, we've seen Van der Ven, obviously from Wolfsburg, 43 million. Some will say, myself included, did we overpay for him? We all knew the player we were getting, but for me, he's just even better than I think we thought he would be. I think we'd be a lot further down the table ultimately if it wasn't for him. His pace, last ditch tackles, and I didn't think Draxler was bad. All the whole back line was bad against Fulham, although we can see 3 goals. It seems like a silly thing to say, but for me, the game was lost in midfield and on the wings. But you could go if you've been slightly critical. Van der Ven, could he have got there with his pace, with some of the chances, the 2 goals that Munez scored? Would he be able to get across quicker? Questions like that. And Van der Ven's just really been excellent. And you always worry when he goes down. So he's very valuable. I think Tottenham Hotspur now definitely worth maybe even more his valuation of 43 million. So for me, he's got to be a huge contender. Giulio Vicario, for me, again, has got to be a big contender. I think our recruitment has been excellent in the last 2 windows, and a player like Vicario really represents this in terms of a lot of Spurs fans, myself included, wanted to go for David Raya. And why aren't we paying the 40 million? We end up paying 17 million. And for me, I think we, at this moment in time, do get the better goalkeeper who is right for this team and can play up to the back. And he says everything you want. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. In terms of crosses and a few things that he can work on. And like his funny banter side of the game, and rather he do that, once we won, once the game's over. But I've been really impressed with him. I think, again, we talk about like the points we've got at the moment. If it wasn't for players like Vicario and Van der Ven, for me, would be a lot further down the table. A doggy, got to throw his name in there. For me, he's been exceptional, a very key part of our success, especially in the early part of the season with Ange Postecoglou in this new system. We went. Let's not forget here, we went toe to toe with Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, the best teams in the country. Straight away from the season, and this is for me completely. And just for me, built this starting 11. It's pretty much come from nothing. You exclude the likes of Son, it's come from nothing. So we've really built a team there that was able to compete. That's why I think the frustrations that we're not quite there at the moment, but overall the bigger picture, we're on the right path. But back to a doggy, I think he's been exceptional. Again, maybe he needs to improve that discipline side to his game. Sometimes getting a yellow card, but for me, he's good going forward. A little bit liability defensively, but he's improving, and he's only going to improve. He's got the manager to do so. He's got the right personnel around him, and I think ultimately the manager has the back end of the board, which always helps as well. So yeah, I've been really, really impressed with the doggy. He was excellent at Udinese. Udinese, they had a good season. They got results against big teams, Juventus, Napoli, and that was a key part of the way they played with the fullbacks. A doggy being a prime part of that. And just the amount of goals and assists he got for Udinese as well is scary. Definitely, if you take away his yellow cards, you'd want the doggy in your fantasy team, for example. We've already discussed, but Porro on the right. But for me, you got Tim Shearwood, he's awful, etc. And he's just going to prove people like that wrong. Porro, still not for me fantastic defensively, but again, improving, and it's very good going forward. He's not afraid to shoot. His crosses are great, and ultimately, I just love his passion. You need that. For me, he's been really, really good. Romero, again, as we discussed, I think that I've been critical of him in the past, but hold my hands up. I think that, I never ever questioned his ability or his quality. For me, that's clear to see. And we saw on that Argentina team when the pressure wasn't there. But last season, it was clear to see that he was a liability in terms of he felt that responsibility for me to always make a tackle, get a yellow card, protect the team. And I do think that's who he was next to, in your Dyes, your Davises. I do think it was that. So having Van der Ven, I think it's a very key part. That and the vice captain's role, I think he's really, really stepped up for me. It's absolute credit to him. So that whole back line have got to be contenders. Yeah, as I said, I think Basuma up until he went away for AFCON would have been a contender, but hasn't been the same since. That rules him out for me. Pape Mate Sarr. I think we knew that he was going to be a player, a very special player. When we saw last season, as dire as we were under Antonio Conte, uh, you know, two really bad performances where we went to the San Siro and lost 1-0 to AC Milan in that first leg, I believe, at round of 16, round of 32 Champions League. And we lose the North London derby at home 2-0, 2-0, 2-1. I think it was. I can't quite remember. But anyway, we were awful. That's what matters here. But he shone in both those games. And that's North London derby and going to San Siro. You can't get much tougher than that. And he, along with Skip at the time, but even more him, really shone through that. And Conte was reluctant to play him. And for me, he's been great this season. He just brings that energy, that dynamic. I see him as a box-to-box midfielder. And you need his energy. He's only going to get better as well. I don't think we should overplay him. I think that you need to be careful with him. And I think some players, some clubs overplay youngsters. I think United don't want to fall into that trap with Mainu. Newcastle trying not to fall in that trap as well with Lewis Miley. I think Arsenal maybe fell into it a little bit with Saka against a couple of injury problems he's had. So you've got to be careful with playing a young player too much. I think that was our mistake with Tanganga. Made his debut against Liverpool for Mourinho. I remember it was there. We lost 1-0. His goal line clearances. He didn't get player of the match of the game, which is very rare for the losing team. That it weren't great on the day, but Tanganga got it. And we just kind of played every game since. I remember I went to Vicarage Road, played left back, played right back, right centre back, left centre back. He played everywhere. And, I think that was a mistake. Also, he got injured and has never been the same player since. Currently at Millwall on loan as we speak. And I still think we'll dip in and out of the team, although he's doing okay at this moment in time. So Sarr, a generational talent, I think it's fair to say with him. I don't want to put any pressure on him, but he has a bright future ahead of him. Just needs to be used and nursed properly, appropriately, and cautiously. James Maddison, again, up until he got that injury against Chelsea, he was probably, for me, the player of the season. I do believe that not only for Tottenham, but in the Premier League and in Europe altogether as well. Hasn't been the same since injury. He was out for a long time. He accepted. He sat down in an interview and said that it's his worst injury he's ever had of his career. And he, for me, hasn't quite been the same since he's come back. So that does rule him out, which is such a shame because he's one of the sign. He used to sign the season before he got injured, and I think that's fair to say. So there for me are the main contenders. Also, I think like Heung-min Son in terms of game improvement from last season, exceptional. Again, I think that captain's role for me, Son is captain material. Wherever you think of him, on and off the pitch, leads from the front. It's the right mentality for a captain. It's inspirational. It's what you want as a leader, as a captain. I think we got it right. Vice captain role, Romero and Maddison. Just we Postecoglou got that right, and that does lie with him. Also, players are stepping up. Personally, rather see Son on the left. I look at times. I think we're getting good positions, but the ball in the box. We haven't got the aerial presence. So hopefully now with Charlison back from injury, for me, he starts against Luton for me. Absolutely, and I'd like to see him start big games as well. Go to Anfield, James's Park, London Stadium, Stamford Bridge, host City and Arsenal. I want to see that physical presence in the box. Son on the left, Werner and Johnson on the bench to impact the game, who I really like, by the way. Johnson's improving game by game. Isn't a contender in terms of overall season. Werner only been here for a short amount of time, but for me, he's been really impressive, and I think it's a no-brainer for the summer. So let me know what you think of that in the comments below. But if I had to choose one, it would be very tough, but it would go with. I'm just about leaning towards. I'm going to go with it. Van der Ven. His recovery pace, quickest registered player in the Bundesliga. He was just immense, and we missed him against Fulham. Although the defense wasn't the problem, it's he gets to places where he doesn't have the right to do so. His recovery pace saves us, and because of his recovery pace, extreme pace, we can play with such a high line, and it doesn't work. If you don't get it right, then you've got no one to get back, and there's no real hope with Van der Ven. You just feel safe, even if it's just him, 4v1. I feel safe with Van der Ven at the back. I honestly do. I still think there would be a chance that Van der Ven can stop the counter. So for me, it'd be just him. But Sarr, Vicario, for me, the closest behind. Romero is not that far behind, and this is coming from quite a big critic of him. This time at Tottenham, I'm not going to lie, is I criticised him video after video, show after show. but I will give him credit here. He's been a lot better this season, and it's just great to see. Sometimes I still think there's room for improvement, but for me, he suits the system perfectly. Who is your player of the season? If you're listening live on YouTube, get involved in the comments. I say live, it's pre-recorded, so still get involved in the comments. And say if you are listening on a podcast platform, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review. Head over to YouTube, search Scarfy Spurs Talk, and subscribe. Get us to 2K. That'd be massively appreciated. There's more content over at the channel as well, so you get a lot on here on your podcast platforms, but you also get match previews, instant match reactions, match day vlogs, which you don't get here. But also proud to announce Premier League shows as well on all platforms, Tuesday and Wednesday night, available to watch and listen to anytime after as well. But thank you very much for watching this video. Who is your Spurs player of the season? But as always, come on you Spurs.